we have got Aaron Mentz here with U.S. Defense Solutions. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about, I know we held your ribbon cutting probably about several months ago now. And for those who did not see it on our social media or weren't able to attend, we had a great celebration. And we talked a little bit at that time about what U.S. Defense Solutions is, how it came to be. So give us just a little bit of that history, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So U.S. Defense Solutions is what used to be Guns and Tackle. Guns and Tackle was started in 1977. Marvin Cole and a group of other gentlemen started that just as a gun store, kind of mom and pop deal, and they've been around until 2015. And then my father decided to buy it in 2015, and then I just bought it from him. Essentially, we're kind of business partners on that. I just bought it from him this past year. So we've been around for a long time, nearly 50 years. It's gone through some significant changes over the past 10 years. We moved buildings out from the old CVS parking lot into the new building that we're in now on Lincoln Street, just right across the road from our old building. And we've kind of had some ups and downs, and now we're kind of ramping it back up, getting some more inventory on the shelves, and so we're really doing good things, bringing more people back in the door. So it's always been a family-owned business. We continue to try and go that route. My father and I both veterans, both here from this local community. Our other sales associate is a veteran as well, so we like to support the veteran community.
Absolutely.
And so we're just kind of a mom and pop store. Hopefully, hand it down to my son someday.
Yeah. So I noticed the name change in there. You said that it was formerly Guns and Tackle. Talk a little bit about the name change and why you went through that change.
Yeah, so it's really no secret. For the past couple of years, we really struggled with COVID. It just hit us hard. My father, as I mentioned, he bought the business while I was still in the military. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. And he was kind of trying to do things on his own there. And really, we struggled to get inventory on the shelves, and we kind of just struggled to make ends meet there. COVID hit. We got smashed with COVID, and then I've kind of been putting off. I've been apprehensive about getting into buying in partnership with Dad, and then I've been praying about it a lot. It just came on me that I needed to join the forces with them, and so it's a pretty vulnerable market, So my apprehension came, it was real. Yeah. But I bought in, and in order to do that, in order to make those moves happen, U.S. Defense Solutions, they are a franchise, and they were doing big things. They're kind of making some moves, and I talked to the owners, and they wanted to come to town, so we just contracted with them, and they're helping us get stuff on the shelves. They're helping us make contacts with some of the distributors that we wouldn't have otherwise had, and just really they're just kind of helping us, get moving again, and so that's where we're at. So U.S. Defense Solutions is just a brand change and a name change. We're still family owned. We're still locally owned, and so really it's just a new facade.
Okay. So it sounds like your reach is a little bit greater in what you can carry and handle because of this acquisition. You've got a little bit more maybe room to play with and on availability and things that you can find and get your hands on.
Right, yeah, they just had some resources available to us that we just otherwise wouldn't have had.
Sure. I know you said your dad owned it, and you talked about everyone being a veteran who is there now. What drove your family into the gun business originally?
Well, it's kind of funny, you get into entrepreneurship because you enjoy, like for us, we enjoy guns. Dad is he's brilliant when it comes to guns. And so it just kind of, we were blessed to have the opportunity in 2015 to have bought it from Marvin. It just, the opportunity arose. And we had for a long time talked about going into business together. And so it just kind of worked out that way. Where he bought it, and we kind of have found out what he's good at and what he's not good at with the business. Like I said, he's brilliant with guns, and he would acknowledge, hopefully he's listening, that he's not brilliant with business, and that's where I came in, and I'm kind of cleaning up that aspect of the business. And we both stink at sales, so we had to get a new sales guy in. it's
I
just one of
love
those
the
things.
honesty.
Yeah, I'm pretty transparent. I have a hard time removing myself from the situation, thinking, man,
Sure.
I wouldn't buy this if it were me. And a salesman is just there to make that sale happen. And I just struggle to remove myself from that situation. So, anyways, I'm the backroom guy. That's the gun guru, and then we've got a guy who's in there specifically for sales. He's a veteran as well. So
Right, because every person who comes in has a different reason of why they're looking for a particular make, model, firearm, and so what you may want or may want to buy may not be the same thing as that other person. So I can totally understand where you're saying it's hard to remove yourself, because you definitely have different interests than the customer across the counter from you.
yeah. So it just worked out. I was able to buy in and just at a good time. When things are hard in the community and in society, gun sales go up. So it was a good time for us for me to get in.
Sure.
And I think otherwise, if I hadn't made that decision, I'm not sure if we would be having this conversation. I don't know if Guns and Tackle would have made it, would have survived.
Gotcha.
So props to Dad for he was very dedicated. He took a second job just to keep the doors open.
Wow.
When there's a lot of gun stores closing down. So he was dedicated, and that means a lot. So.
Well, we are as well glad that you're here, and that the Guns and Tackle, now U.S. Defense Solutions, did survive. It definitely shows perseverance. It shows creativity in how to make it work during difficult times. And we all know that time was very stressful for business owners. So we're thankful that you were able to come through that and be on the other side looking back now. Let's talk a little bit about the customer. If someone is listening who is not a gun owner, why do you think gun ownership is important? Why should someone potentially think about being a gun owner?
Okay. Well, there's several reasons to own a gun. In our country specifically, it's just kind of woven into the fabric of what makes us sovereign. There's hunting, there's sport shooting, protection of yourself from predators, there's protection of your livestock from predators, and of course there's just sovereignty from tyranny. And so it's written into our Bill of Rights for a reason. I think that the men who were building the foundation of our country knew that, and they knew it was important. That's why they built it in. So without kind of going that route right now, I think ownership in America is extremely important. Now, as far as getting somebody in the door who wouldn't have otherwise maybe owned, like somebody's looking to own a gun who's not really sure the process of what's going on or
Right.
what they need to do,
Right.
that's kind of a different conversation.
Well, let's have that conversation.
Okay.
So somebody who is not currently a gun owner, who is maybe thinking about that's a potential for them, what should he or she do? What is that first step?
Well, you kind of have to know what you want. So there needs to be a purpose behind you buying a gun. You can't just own a gun. I mean, you can. Certainly, it happens all the time. Probably half the gun owners who in our county own guns, but just to own guns with no purpose.
Okay.
And from my perspective, when you just own a gun and you're not trained on it, you don't know what to do with it, it might as well be a paperweight, and you're kind of more of a liability than you are an asset with it.
Sure.
So you have to understand the purpose of why you're buying a gun.
Okay.
As far as actually buying a gun, it's very simple. You walk in the store, you find the gun that you like, you fill out a background check. The form goes through to the ATF, or it goes to the background check process. Within 5 or 10 minutes, you can be cleared, or it might be delayed. But usually speaking, it takes about 20, 25 minutes to get in the store, buy a gun.
I mean, fairly quick considering what checks and balances are happening on the back end. So
Sure.
yeah.
And there's a lot of other considerations to go around just owning a gun. In 2020 was the highest gun sales that our country's ever seen, and that's kind of the reason I started my training business, which we'll talk about later. But there's so many people just buying guns just to have a gun. Maybe they were riding the fence prior, and they just decided, it's kind of getting dangerous out there. It's time to grab a gun, and then now they have it, and it's probably sitting in their closet or under their bed or something. Hopefully not under their bed. And hopefully it's stored away. But
Sure.
I know all of those people didn't just buy a handgun and buy a safe from us. So my question to them is, what are you doing with it? How is it stored? You know, that kind of, there's several questions that need to be asked there.
Absolutely.
So other considerations would be, you know, determine the type. That basically comes from the purpose. Figure out what you're capable of handling, will generally determine the caliber that you're able to shoot.
Okay.
Figure out how much time that you want to spend in training. There are some guns that require more training than others. You know, a semi-automatic handgun versus a revolver. For an example, you know, a revolver is just old school technology. You pull the trigger, it shoots. If you pull the trigger and it doesn't shoot, you just pull the trigger again, and hopefully it shoots the next time. With the semi-automatic, you know, it could jam if you're not shooting it properly, and then if it jams, you don't know how to take care of that malfunction. Then it's, you know, your gun becomes a projectile. Maybe you just toss it at the, you know, at the assailants or whatever, and then, you know, you're kind of once again a liability.
Right.
So depending on how much time you want to spend training will determine the type of gun that you want, and then obviously, you know, if you just want it for just blinking or you're just shooting targets or whatever, then, you know, there's a whole wide variety of things that you can do. Ways you can go there.
Let's talk about you've mentioned training, and I know you said we'd get to that here in a little bit. But let's go ahead and jump there. I've got people listening who potentially do not own a gun. They need to know their purpose first and foremost. That will help drive what they are going to look at in your store. They go ahead and come in, they purchase, you said as little as 15 to 20 minutes on the short end for making that purchase. What is their next step? I would assume it would be some sort of training, or that you would recommend that.
Yeah, obviously there's training that needs to be involved. I think the very first thing you need to understand is storage.
Okay.
I kind of hit on it before.
Yep.
You have to understand who has access, potentially gain access to your firearm. If you got kids in the house, or, you know, you live in a place where, I don't know, maybe you didn't previously lock your door so they can just walk right in. You want to make sure that it's stored properly. You need to make sure, a lot of people just buy a gun and start to carry it without any kind of training, without understanding proper retention or anything like that, or really even considering situational awareness. And so for all these reasons, the training is vitally important if you own a gun. And so, yeah, I mean, we offer training. It's certainly the next step, I believe, in just understanding your firearm, understanding how to disassemble your firearm and clean it, and making sure that it's operational. Understanding, you know, the safety around it. If you don't understand all of the safety rules surrounding the gun, then you could potentially make a very bad judgment. You could make a bad move. It is a dangerous thing. It certainly has the capability to take lives, and I think we should take that seriously. We need to be responsible. And so seek training, whether that's through us or, you know, through other means of training. There's several around.
Yep.
And we designed classes specifically for that reason. Understanding that people don't have the training necessary. You know, I designed a class where you come out to the range, even if you don't even have a gun yet, you can just figure out the ins and outs. This is a gun, this is the dangerous end, this is the safe end, this is how you hold it, this is how you shoot it, this is how you clear it, this is how you load it, all those kind of things. And then I bring all my guns out to the range, and they get to try whatever they want. They get to shoot all the different calibers that are available before even making that selection process. So that's one class that's available. The following class is generally marksmanship. So you maybe have a gun, but now you're just learning how to shoot it properly, how to be safe with it, how to actually hit your target. You know, most people that come out in that class, if we took them to a range that was questionable, they probably wouldn't hit their target at all, because they just don't understand the foundations of marksmanship, the fundamentals of marksmanship.
Okay.
So the second level class is just getting them more well versed with their firearm and how to shoot it accurately and safely. And then the third level that we offer is just a little bit more tactical. It's, you know, engaging multiple targets and shooting and moving and drawing from retention, and just a little bit more situational awareness and involved with that, a little bit more tactical. Not really high speed. You don't have to be an operator to take any of these classes. It is recommended that you take them in order. But if you've already got some experience, it would be good to get out and kind of learn how to move and learn how to, seek cover, and those kind of things. More defensive situation.
Sure.
Class,
So kind of a 3-step process there. You said selection, marksmanship being the second level, and then shooting and moving or more tactical movements. Are these training sessions offered on a routine basis, or where do people find out about what is being offered as far as a training session would go?
Yeah, I actually just put the schedule up yesterday.
Oh, perfect.
And so,
well, look at us leading right
We're
into
right
that. Okay, schedule is where?
So we'll find it on Facebook.
Okay.
I don't have a good website for my training business, which I should probably talk about that a little bit. So I developed the training business separate from the gun store.
Okay.
So it's housed within the gun store, basically. My training business is called Legacy Tactical.
Okay.
And so I also have a Facebook page that I try to just push everything towards the U.S. Defense Solution page. And so actually the schedule just went up on the Legacy Tactical Facebook page. I'm going to pick that up on the U.S. Defense Solutions page and just
Perfect.
kind of send it out to the masses there. So the first class is not going to be until the end of April. I'm looking at April 30th.
Okay.
And that's going to be the first 2 levels of classes. They're usually about 2 hours in length. I'm fairly long-winded, so sometimes we go over. But there's a lot of questions, and usually those questions just lead to more questions. And so 2 hours, 2.5 hours, somewhere in there.
And because you have young kids, questions are okay, and you're very patient with multiple whys and hows, and
I appreciate
That's how we learn.
questions.
Yeah.
As a high school teacher, they're not always really in tune with what you're teaching. They're not excited to be there. So when you get adults out who are actually eager to learn things, it's kind of refreshing.
Sure, absolutely. So classes are starting at the end of April. That schedule can be found on Legacy Tactical and soon to be merged into the U.S. Defense Solution website as well. We've talked a lot about guns, a little bit about storage, and a little bit about training. I have been in your store, and I know that there are not just guns in the store. So tell everyone a little bit more about U.S. Defense Solutions as a whole.
Yeah, so U.S. Defense Solutions, like I said, it's a franchise. There's one in Columbus, Greenwood, Bloomington, and Greensburg, and we're just trying to branch out still from there. A lot of variety of guns, revolvers and semi-automatic handguns. We've got ARs and shotguns and just different styles of hunting rifles, and there's all kinds of all varieties of guns we have there.
Mm-hmm.
We particularly carry where you're not going to find at like a Bass Pro Shop or Royal King. We have some old collector's guns, some old military style guns.
Okay.
That is just kind of a different demographic altogether. People who are interested in collecting
Sure.
will come to us for that. But aside from guns, we have a pretty large selection of ammo available right now.
Okay.
And then we carry all your accessories from holsters to magazines and everything that you would need to store and to retain your gun.
Okay.
We've got knives, and then we also carry suppressors. And so that's the kind of thing that takes a tax stamp. I don't know if you're familiar with
Not at all.
that
So go ahead and
language
tell
at
me
all.
about it.
And so the tax stamp is kind of just regulated by the ATF. It's essentially you have to apply for an additional background check in order to own a suppressor.
Okay.
And the same thing with a short barrel rifle, short barrel shotgun, fully automatic gun. All of these things they're considered an NFA item that they require a whole separate background check and a different timeline.
Okay.
I can't tell you right now what the timeline is for that, but
Sure.
it's gotten up to 13 months.
Wow.
Down to 6 months, and it kind of is a back and forth there. I
Fluctuates.
want to say it's somewhere around 9 months right now that it takes to get the background check back before you can actually take it out of the store
Okay.
for a suppressor. So
plan ahead.
Yes, plan ahead for that. So the suppressors are there, and then now also in that conversation is the what used to be AR pistol stabilizing braces. I don't know if you've heard anything about that going, in kind of news and politics lately, but those are no longer even a thing. The ATF has basically decided that those are an NFA item now. It's not a pistol brace now; it's just a buttstock. And if you put it on your AR pistol and you don't have the tax stamp for it, then it's a felony. So there are 1.4 million of these out there in circulation,
Okay.
And so it's something to definitely be cautious about. I kind of got down a rabbit hole there.
That's
But
okay.
yeah, if there's anyone out there with the AR pistol brace that hasn't actually registered it, or you can own it, but as soon as you put it on the firearm itself, that's when it becomes an issue.
Gotcha.
So anyway, sorry, I kind of got down a rabbit
That's
hole
okay.
there.
That's okay.
So suppressors, we have some AR building kits there. So if you were a kid into building Legos, now you're an adult and you want to continue to build stuff, that's kind of what the ARs are. And you get to build a gun, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty easy, and they're modular, and they're fun to build. And we have all the stuff there to build those. Let's see what else. Like I mentioned, we sell our training through our store.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not looking online to buy it, you can just go in the store and just buy it there at the counter. Those guys will walk you through the steps for that.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
I had no idea, just because that is not a world that I am super familiar with. But it is very, very evident and obvious from just our short discussion already this morning that you are very well versed in your hobby, in your craft of through U.S. Defense Solutions and formerly Guns and Tackle. And I think that you are a wealth of information and a great place for people to go to be educated who want to learn more. And I think that is very, very important when we're talking about the subject of gun ownership, that people truly understand what they're getting into, and people like you who can help them do that safely. So tell me a little bit about, we've got just a couple minutes left here, and I've still got hundreds of questions in my mind, but tell us just a little bit, or talk a little bit about the right to carry and what an armed citizen looks like, and somebody who is doing that responsibly. What should we be looking for as other citizens who are intermingling, whether we carry or not, and just touch on that subject a little bit with me.
Sure. So Indiana just recently went to constitutional carry,
Okay.
which for all freedom lovers, that's a great thing. There's a lot of people that kind of maybe is scared of that conversation. But ultimately for freedom, it's a good thing. Where you're not required to have a license to carry, as long as you aren't a felon or are of age. Then it doesn't require a license.
And the age, the legal age is
18.
Okay.
And so, some considerations are retention. The days of putting a gun in your waistband those are long gone. There's been several technological advances that have come through, and it makes retention a lot easier. You can carry inside or outside your waistband. You can carry it on your hip or on your appendix, or even in the small of your back. There's all kind of different retention devices to carry your gun. You can carry it in a purse, not always recommended, because if an attacker comes, specifically a woman, they're probably going to come after your purse first thing. So then there goes your defense.
Right.
So just considerations like that. You're going to always rely. You're going to fall back to the level of your training. You're not just going to kind of step up and all of a sudden be a hero with your gun. You should never go anywhere with your gun that you wouldn't have otherwise gone without your gun. Right? It doesn't make you invincible to have a gun.
Sure.
I think people kind of forget that often. Like, now I have a gun, now I can go anywhere I want. I don't have to be scared anymore. Well, the truth is you should be more responsible. You shouldn't ever just go out of your way just because you have the firearm on you. So you're still, practicing situational awareness, understanding where hazards might be or where predators might hang out, like not walking through dark alleys. It seems common sense, but some people kind of get more bold when they have a gun on
Sure.
them. So parking under street lights and not just out, in a parking lot somewhere. So all kind of different considerations. Something that really helped me out was the USCCA. That's the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. That's just an organization to help people understand all the ins and outs of concealed carry. There's interactive maps on there, so if you're traveling across the country, you can see what states reciprocate our laws. Maybe if you're driving through Illinois, it's going to tell you that your firearms are restricted there.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a nice organization, they do a really good job of providing information for all gun owners.
Great resource, yeah.
And also they have liability insurance. The USCCA has liability insurance that, if you were involved in in an incident where you had to discharge your gun or even just show your gun, they're there to help you out with that. So
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a really great organization. I would highly recommend just looking into that for anyone who does own a gun.
Okay.
I don't even remember where we were going.
Well, we are actually running out of time. One last maybe question, and this is just kind of general. I feel like we can take such a deeper dive on so many levels here. So I definitely want to drive people to you to become more educated and aware. If you are interested in gun ownership, where can people reach out to?
Well, so US Defense Solutions is on Lincoln Street there, 1207 North Lincoln Street.
Yep.
Phone number is 812-663-2030.
Okay. And you mentioned Facebook earlier. You've got a
Facebook is
site.
always available. Yep. Our sales associate Chris runs Facebook. He does a great job of staying. I think he gets back with people generally within 10-15 minutes usually, so he has pretty good response time there. And I'll check it every now and then. So yeah, Facebook's probably the primary place. We're always putting our new inventory up there.
And then hours of operation and days that you're open for the store.
Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6.
Okay. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for being with us. I hate to cut it short because, like I said, I feel like we can just keep going forever. Wealth of knowledge, and we definitely want to make sure that when people are owning a gun, they are doing it properly, they're doing it safely, they understand the ins and outs of storage, and all the rules, regulations, and laws that go along with gun ownership. So definitely use Aaron as a resource here in our community and reach out to him through US Defense Solutions for more information. That store is located at 1207 North Lincoln Street. So thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Don.
You're welcome.